This conference will
pledge
now be
allegiance
recorded.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have no public hearings scheduled for tonight. Can I have a motion to approve or modify the minutes from the May 6th meeting? I believe there's a couple corrections that the secretary's taken care of.
Yeah. I approve them. I make a motion to approve
Make a motion with the corrected minutes.
with the corrected minutes, yes, which you.
Motion by Pat.
I'll second.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded?
All.
Tony can't, he wasn't here.
Okay.
Well, that takes you.
Jim was here.
Even though I
Okay,
read them.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Okay.
Okay, we move on to new business. Doug, you have no new business for us at this time? Okay. Old business. First one, KOA. Steve, I believe you're here. Any other? Okay, the board had a couple questions. Or do you have something to just give us an update?
No, I didn't know why I was called.
All right,
What update would I get?
Well, they opened, so the fence must be done, right?
the fence is done, right? Yep, the fence is done. You're not,
On both sides or just?
Yes.
both sides are done. Yep, Doug has visited
I
the
know.
site very regularly. I don't know if there's any other questions that,
Sully, when is the project on Riverside supposed to be completed?
It is.
It is.
With trees, landscaping, all that stuff? You all set there?
All the trees are planted.
Okay. So you're pretty much set.
Well, we're still finishing up work. We still have a couple weeks of work left. But it's pretty close.
Okay, good.
do you have an official opening date?
We're open. We
Yeah,
have a
Memorial
permit
Day
out
weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are open.
So it's basically just cosmetic that you have left.
Yeah, everything's been approved by DOH and everything's constructed as planned.
Okay,
And how about the Fox Run? What's going on there?
I don't understand what do you mean? What's going on?
Well,
Well,
progress.
yeah, when are you opening there?
We have a planned opening of the 25th of this month.
And, are you gonna, I know that originally you said you were gonna keep it the same footprint, but it looks like it's considerably different, and I was wondering if perhaps you might think about, decreasing the number of RVs, since the number of RVs on the Riverside is gonna be tremendous. And then, providing more cabins for the guests.
We built Foxborough and Riverside to the plan. And they haven't changed.
Fox Farm Road, you're in phase one. There's possibly something gonna be further down the road, possibly.
I mean, there's always possibility for the, for what lies in the future.
And the footprint, you're using the existing RV sites, basically, from the original footprint.
Correct. We haven't changed any site location. We had to put new septic in. So
Right.
That's the difference you see is
That's
we had to put
huge,
in all that new septic.
right. And then your neighbors did the massive cut down using your driveway.
I'm sorry,
And then your neighbors, did the massive cut down using your driveway to get rid of the wood. Right?
Columbia, right?
Columbia,
yeah, they use that as logging heads.
The
Right,
three lots
exactly.
on, towards 86,
right,
they used part of the
We-
property as a landing for them
we
to
allowed
take their
them to
log.
use our property.
Right.
yeah.
Because that was the contractor that was doing our work, so we allowed them to do both of them.
I just don't
Now, we-
understand why he's asking these questions. I think that's why he looks confused.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know, is there any other, does any of the board members have anything else?
You guys aren't gonna say anything.
Good to know that it's opening soon.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what the reservations look like for the sellers for both properties?
Riverside is doing better than Fox Farm right now, but Fox Farm is a new venture. But there's reservations at both. Riverside is running in conjunction with Mountainside. It's one property the way we run it. It's a single property.
Oh, you just put overflow or depending on what side they want to go?
Some people choose to be on one side.
It's just
or
the way the North Pole had it set up.
Yeah.
100 acres and
Mhm.
Riverside.
So the Lake Placid, Whiteface Mountain KOA is both Mountainside and Riverside and the motel. They're all running as a single business. And then the Fox Farm Road is gonna run as Camp Whiteface Mountain.
Do you have any employees staying at the motel?
What's that?
Have you any employees staying at the motel?
Any employees staying at the motel?
I have a couple.
How many are there, will Riverside be all RVs now? Or there are some cabins? Are there?
No, it was the way,
Okay, right.
no, the plan had to be modified, if you remember correctly, to make everything work. We took the cabins out. They took the cabins out to make it work for the way the layout had to be.
Which is why I'm saying that maybe we should have, or it would be nice.
They
for
have
more
cabins at Mountainside.
Mhm.
How many RV sites at Riverside?
60.
59.
59? And at Mountainside?
Mountainside RV sites, 38 of them.
And the rest would be what?
There's tent sites, there's camping cabins, there's deluxe cabins.
RVs? RV sites?
That's what he gave you first,
Yeah,
38.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, 38, yeah.
And then on Fox Farm is the same footprint, which is how many? Can't remember.
I don't remember the exact numbers. I think it's like 53 RVs on Fox Farm.
I don't even know if it's that high. I think it's, I'm pretty sure it's 123 sites total, and it's a mix of RV and tent.
Right.
That's all that's there, is RV and
No
tent.
cabins,
No cabin.
but there used to be cabins there on Fox Farm.
So we didn't put plans for cabins.
Well,
They
they're
built
keeping-
everything the way that it was approved for that.
Right, the cabins
Okay.
were an extension outside of the original footprint, so they couldn't do that.
We're not opening the entire Fox Farm property. We're opening part of it,
Okay.
a section of it.
Is there gonna be like a game room or anything at either place?
So sorry?
Is there gonna be a game room or playground or anything at
Cool.
either campground?
There is at Mountainside, he has a recreation building, he has, and that's all in the plans that we worked with them at,
KOA on Fox Farm too, or
not on
No.
Fox Farm Road,
Right.
gonna be nothing there?
just the
Well,
RVs.
And tents.
We're
Like-
marketing a rustic campground at Fox Farm.
That's why cabins would be so ideal.
It's just
I have
like,
to say,
Okay.
I drove through the Fox Farm KOA a couple of times, and what you've done is pretty attractive.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, the grass looks terrific.
yeah, I noticed that today.
It looks like
All that grass is septic systems.
Yeah.
It'll grow well. Okay, thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Okay,
Is the public allowed to ask questions?
Not at
this is not a public hearing, we just had an open discussion for the KOA and the board to discuss back and forth.
Later on.
The public hearings were held, this was just, the KOA representative came to just update the board on the progress.
Are they allowed to put them?
It's not a public hearing, no, we,
There's two here.
I'm sorry.
There's public comments later on.
Maybe she's on the
Yeah.
TV. Did they still count?
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, there will be public comment then. Okay, the livestock zoning amendment. Does the board have any discussion regarding that?
I don't like what's written.
What, this one? The one detail?
Wait, what about the one I sent?
I never got it. Doug sent it out to everybody, I got it.
Yeah, it was my fault. My feeling on it is, I think we should use the current codes that we have and just strongly enforce them. You know, I mean, any restrictions on chickens and whatnot on a number, ticks are a real problem in this neighborhood. I use chickens and guinea fowl and turkeys to, you know, keep my property clean of ticks, and my daughters put them playing in the yard. I also raise livestock too.
Probably not in the hamlet.
Right, but, so, this complaint that was brought forward to us had two violations there, section D and section F. Animal escape and offensive odors. Has that been followed up with, Doug? It's in
That
litigation
is
with
the very difficult issue for me to deal with because of the nature of those complaints. The only thing I can really deal with is the location of the livestock shed.
Is, I saw Tim here, is he here still, or is he? Tim, I mean, who follows up on enforcement and to make sure that a problem is resolved? Is that the town board? Code?
Really, code enforcement, code, that's the title, right?
It would be code enforcement and then it would go to the court.
Okay.
So the code, we'd have to actually have a complaint filed, and then Doug would confirm the complaint, and then he would bring it to court based on.
Were those complaints actually filed, Doug?
I don't believe they're actually filed. However, the smell is something that's very difficult to prove one way or another. And it's a difficult thing to fight in court.
Yes, how do you?
Exactly, and that's the problem. That's why Favor didn't want to move forward on it.
So maybe that's something in our codes that needs to be amended. Why do we have a useless line in our codes?
Well, that's unfortunate.
It's pretty general. A lot of places have the toxic
Well,
odor.
so this is law, and the letter of law is very important. We need to use the accurate words and not be vague here. Why do we have something in the code that we can't enforce to solve the problem?
All right, so
That's why we need
I
to
think
amend
the
it.
suggestion is
And I
then.
don't think that the density of animals is the way to amend it.
Okay, so
I think The way
again,
to amend it is by,
you have some ideas that could be put into place?
is this the time that for, I mean, Chris, I'm new to this.
No, you're,
Is this the time for us to discuss
Yeah.
this?
yes. And then you would put something together and,
I will tell you, my only opinion would be is good animal husbandry, which would mean accurately handling your manure, whether it be composting it or whatever. If there's a problem, you need to either be, actively heat treating, composting this by turning it every 15 days, getting it up to 130 to 160 degrees to kill the bad bacteria, but harvest all that good nitrogen and everything in it to not create an odor. But to just say that you can't have animals, well, that's punishing people like me that aren't doing anything wrong.
I'm not sure that that's what we're saying though.
That is what you're saying with the stocking densities.
no,
So-
we can't, no, can we?
But it's about where you live. Where you live is more conducive and more,
I agree, but for reference, I keep my chickens, I raise 30 meat chickens every year and a 10x12 tractor that I move twice a day, and also keep a dozen hens. The acreage that I do that on is less than a third of an acre, and my closest neighbor is Joe Peck. He's 150 feet from the edge of my pasture. And they don't complain about the smell because I take my manure, I heap it, with a thermometer, I can maintain the smell. So if
But you
somebody's
went-
having a problem with smell, we need to arm Doug appropriately to address the smell.
but you went to Paul Smith College. You know how to do composting.
Okay.
The average person doesn't.
Maybe we could
Okay,
have a
what we need,
workshop and teach people.
what we need to do is table this, and we have to get you and some other people from the board together.
I thought this was the time.
Well, no, but we have to put things in writing too.
But we have, I mean,
Let's try
This
to
is-
organize. What do we?
But this is just voting on the current amendment that is in front of you.
I don't
Whether
want the
you
amendment
agree or
in front of me.
disagree with the
Right.
current
So
amendment
let's
that's in
talk
front of
it
you.
through. Why
Right,
not?
so,
This is,
Why not?
yes.
That's-
so we have to
I-
vote
I
on
vote
this.
no on that.
Okay, well, let me get a motion going for.
Right, I apologize, sorry.
No, you,
I don't understand why we can't like talk it through and try to come up with something that has to
because
be
you have
viable.
to proceed, follow the procedures.
Okay,
Okay, so we have to vote first on whether we want to accept this amendment. So I need a motion from the board
To accept it as
to
it is,
accept it as it is,
or to.
Or
table it
not
to-
accept it.
to not accept it.
You don't necessarily have to table it. You can not accept it and then bring it back to the board at another point in time after there's been more conversation about it.
And we can modify that if we want to right now?
Can we
Right
make
now
it
or
one
no?
time now?
You can modify it, but it has to go back through another meeting to be able to vote on it.
Can we, after we vote on this, can we continue this conversation for a few moments?
Sure. Yep. So motion to
Yes, table.
move on the amendment.
Motion to move on the amendment. I
That's-
second that motion.
okay.
That motion.
So to pass the amendment, agree
No.
to it.
Pass or
Talk
deny.
about it. That's what he just said.
No, we're-
Motion to move on the amendment.
Right, which is
To
to
move
approve
means to
or
approve.
deny.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
It's a yes
approve
or
or
no.
deny? Deny. Motion to deny. Is there a
Okay.
second?
Second to deny.
second by Jim. Okay, all in favor of denying it this time?
Denied.
Denied. All in
Need
favor?
modification.
Okay, so
Okay.
now the amendment that was written as it was written is no longer valid. Jim's got some suggestions and I'm sure everyone else has some suggestions. So we can discuss it some now and then we'll table it to act on it at the next meeting after everybody takes time during the next 30 days to put together their ideas.
Mhm. And you don't have to table it. You denied that. So
Right.
we'll just bring it back up as
A
new
new
business
amendment.
at the next.
What are things that can be enforced?
Doug, I think you really could speak on that.
Well, even the animal quantities can be difficult. You have to be able to count them and see them at all times.
Right. Are you gonna go
A babysitter.
run and count and chase chickens?
Well,
Good luck with that.
that's what we're trying to talk about here, and I'm not agreeable to it.
So
I'm not
I
on the
don't,
planning
I don't
board.
think the chickens
Well,
and
that's why I
fowl
think
are really
that-
the big issue.
The hamlet should be off limits. And then there's no question.
Yeah, but what if you have
I
a
think
small
that's
family,
Right, some
that
people in
wants
the hamlet want to have.
an eighth of
I
an
know.
acre?
I know.
What's their average size? I'm sorry.
I had.
No,
chickens.
I'm just
I
waiting
think
for
chickens-
everybody
What's their average lot size in the hamlet?
Between a half and 1 acre.
Right, and that's a lot of space.
Okay, Tony Hood.
So right now, as our livestock article reads, a lot or parcel at least 1 acre shall be required for keeping horses, ponies, or other livestock. So my feeling is that, so you're gonna tell me that they can put 25 horses in a 1 acre livestock?
Right, and that just,
You know, now at that point, we should look at the amount for acreage per animal and what it takes per square foot area of, whether
Right.
Cornell says something or Division of
right.
Agricultural, the livestock from New York
The
says something.
DOS, right.
So we have to know a per square footage number per animal to
And that's
determine.
where
So the
those
way
numbers come
those
from.
institutions
That's where
come
those
up
Yes,
with
that's
stocking
from Elizabeth.
density. The
That's
way
how they
Cornell
do it.
comes
Right,
up with stocking
the one I
density.
sent out was from Cornell.
Okay. I did not get that
The
one.
way Cornell
I didn't
comes
get
up
it
with
either.
stocking density
I got the.
is your
before
soil
the answer, but
condition.
not the middle.
You have a general range for our area.
They
So to give you a
wait,
reference,
Hold
it's
on, hold
1
on.
acre per cow.
Right, I mean, they're,
Okay.
but they also talk about whether or not, I mean, the basics are what you want to do with the farm. If it's a commercial farm or if it's a family farm.
No, that
And
has
we're-
nothing
we're
to
not-
do with stocking density as to how many animals a piece of land can hold.
Well,
Again,
one of
that
the,
makes-
You're-
That makes Doug a babysitter.
Right.
That's a whole nother
So
job.
Right.
He's
What
doing
means
short-term
to, the
rentals.
problem is smell.
I know.
And I'm telling you, the way, like, people can have these animals and not smell. And if you can't, then you get a fine. And you keep getting fines, and then you're gonna be in court with the town.
That doesn't help the neighbors much.
So what we need to do is,
But why should somebody who can do it well be punished?
I know, I understand.
When you make a law, you have to think about how it affects the smallest person first,
Right.
not the offender for the problem of a person who is already violating codes that exist. That you are saying you're having a hard time enforcing. So you're gonna make another law that can't be enforced.
I think that having the hamlet, that's pretty cut and dry. Doug's not gonna have to run around.
So no animals in the
chickens.
hamlet.
No, you
What
can
are you
have
gonna
chickens
do with
in
the ones
hamlet,
that are
just how
already
many
there though? You can't just
are accepted.
This
make
is
them
the-
disappear. I mean,
What I sent out, not the Elizabethtown, but what I sent out had to do with in the hamlet. And I mentioned that to you, that we could deal with it through the zoning.
Wilmington
I
is
thought-
not Elizabethtown.
Right. I'm not
You have a
in
this is
favor of
a
the,
farming and
I'm not in
forestry
favor of the
community.
Elizabethtown thing. I wrote out the one that I thought was appropriate and that I got all the information from.
you never got that, Jim?
I got one of them.
Okay.
Everyone, I think, got the
There was a chain, I
Elizabethtown
asked
one.
a question, I asked who you spoke to at Cornell.
Right,
I
I
got
speak
that
to
one.
Cornell a lot,
right. Colin
right,
Traeger, is that his last name?
okay.
Yeah.
I'll look them up.
Yeah.
I'll try and have a conversation.
what about the existing ones?
And,
Can they be
we
grandfathered in?
talked
If there
about-
was, say, if
They
there
are.
was a new,
They are.
they already are.
Jim,
Yeah,
But
the
it's cheating,
existing,
Right.
we
cheating.
can't
Yeah,
change what's
that's right.
there. Right.
That's right. Yep.
how do we solve the problem of smell?
You know, unlike sound you can measure, right, with with decibels, right? There are tools to measure sound. I don't think there's any tool to measure smell, but testimony is evidence. So if it's in court and multiple people are saying the same thing, like, that holds weight. You know, if there are 4 people testifying to the same thing, you don't speak in terms of proof, you speak in terms of evidence. And
Right.
is that evidence persuasive? Probably.
And that's
So-
why we cannot have any discussion because this is in litigation at this time.
I'm just vaguely asking a
Right.
question.
No, I understand, but again, we have to be.
Yeah.
So we need to really,
I-
Jim, if you.
That
could
has
put
nothing
the-
to do with any specific instance at all, I'm just vaguely
Right.
asking.
Right.
You-
If, after you contact that one person, if you could get back to the board by email or whatever with a proposal.
My proposal is just enforce what we have.
So would you be willing to do a class on composting?
Cornell will 100% come to this community and do it. Myself, I have 2 children
I
and
know
a
you do.
business and a lot of irons in the fire right now. I wish I had the time.
But you would be
Cornell
able
would work
to
too.
set up something with Cornell? You have a contact that you might be able to get somebody?
I will ask the Lake Placid Garden
Okay.
Club.
I checked with Burlington Planning Board regarding this issue. And they have a paragraph that says conditional uses shall be approved.
Speak up.
Provided that the use shall not change the residential physical site characteristics of the dwelling or the particular suitability of the particular use within the neighborhood, create objectionable noise, odor, vibrations, or unsightly conditions. Now, I don't know how the big deal last month is the odor.
Okay, Jerry, we cannot,
We're not
Yeah,
discussing
in
it.
litigation.
We can't discuss
It's
it
in
we
litigation.
can't discuss any of that.
with anybody.
Okay. Well, then I present that to the board.
That's pretty much verbatim our code.
Okay. So the question is, what happens when odor exceeds the limit of
Tolerability.
Well, again,
tolerability?
Define
as
the
Tim
limit.
was pointing out, it's a very judgmental gray area. How do you, And that's where they're in litigation, so we have to leave that totally alone right now because that is part of the
I
litigation.
mean, this is life. Abrasion is gonna happen in a community. And every time it happens, we don't have to restrict other people's lives on an issue that can be resolved with something that's already here.
Right? Nobody is,
So by passing stricter hamlet livestock zoning, you are now going to affect people's lives.
People's
What
lives
if,
are
what if you
being
have a
affected.
young family coming in and they say, Daddy, I want a pony.
right,
And you're like, man, we got
an acre.
an acre. And if I board it here and then I go to East Kilns Farm and if I go, you know, because we have to go to Saratoga, I could take care of this horse. Yeah, I'm gonna buy you a pony.
Okay,
But now we can't because this board passed, well, we don't, town board does, pass a law that we suggested saying that you can't have a pony, little girl.
Can you go and rent a stable?
I just don't see the need for it.
I,
This is a farming and forestry
the people
community.
that are complaining have lived in the town for 37 years.
Again,
But it's
how we
being
have to do that.
addressed.
Can't,
Yeah, we can't discuss, okay?
And those same people didn't file a complaint, so I'm sorry, but I don't wanna make a new law if you're not even gonna file the complaint.
Okay, they did file a complaint.
Doug said that they did not,
Now Doug's been up there on complaints.
not an official filing, so supposedly, that, Doug said a complaint wasn't filed.
I would wait for him to come
I just
back in.
think if you want a pony, you would move to a place that.
Or I want a couple
Conducive.
dozen chickens to eat the ticks out of there, and I'm gonna raise them, I just don't understand the need. I said,
But
let's
how
arm our
would you-
code officer to address issues as they come at hand appropriately.
Okay, and again, that's something that we have to discuss with the town board and Doug.
So I would love to see
He
not
actually,
arbitrary numbers presented to the board. Everybody knows that I am against it. I am open to realistic, scientific discussion. If you want to put a restriction on what somebody wants for livestock.
Right, there's one of the things that Cornell really emphasized is the difference between a residential farm, somebody who comes in, like you say, and wants to do something nice, and then they're saying, this is how much, this is right, and a commercial farm, where there's a for profit. I don't think, honestly, your argument about the
So,
ticks
Can I
seems to me dead
interrupt for
on.
1 second also, because that's another thing. I live in Otsego School District. The idea of, to be able to zone agricultural, so I'm not coughing up $800 a month in school tax? Boy, that sounds like, I'm like, hey, maybe I'll pursue that.
okay, I think we beat this around pretty good. Okay.
I think that you ought to change your school zone. I think that we ought to get, I think that
Okay.
a more,
That would be.
Well,
that I can.
We're gonna
that
close the
really
discussion on the livestock. We've taken that and we've
done
moved
nothing.
on
beat it to death.
So what do we need to do? We're to write our ideas down for the next.
Correct.
I'm
Yep.
frustrated that the ideas that I thought,
Yeah,
We're
that's
back
what
at
we're supposed to do
Elizabeth
this
Town.
I'm just
time.
frustrated.
Yeah.
The code officer feels like his hands are tied.
They are.
right, and that's why I sent out him, I was concerned, I mean, I think that there are ways to deal with it, say, for instance, the distance from the barn and whatever, from the border, how much space is available. I mean, what you're saying about how to farm, see, that's
Okay.
a rough thing.
We really have to end
Okay.
this, okay? We do open the floor up for public comment now. So we'll take,
Question, does Doug have the ability to issue a ticket to go to court?
yes, and he has,
Okay. Because some code enforcement don't have, that's why I'm asking.
yes,
So Tina.
yes,
If you have the power to write a ticket.
yes,
To
he,
go to court.
I can do appearance tickets, yes.
and he has.
And Doug, those are all town court.
Okay, wait, we're gonna do one at a time, gentlemen.
I'm sorry, what?
John Hensley from Manning Road. The discussion that you're having over the livestock, is that public? Can we see that? Is that connected?
Not yet.
Not yet,
Yeah.
no.
Is the current town policy on the website?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I have 14 chickens, and I just ordered 12 more. I'm gonna have 25 chickens in about 3 weeks. I have a family of 6, and during wintertime, is Jim Kelly there?
Yes, sir.
As Jim probably knows, is that chickens stop laying eggs. They slow down significantly. For a family of 6, I need a decent amount of chickens to feed my family. And so I appreciate Jim's comments because I don't want to pass a law that's going to restrict something from somebody being able to feed their children and so on and so forth.
And that's where, at the town board meeting, if we suggest something to the town board, that's where you need to come and voice your opinion about that, because they are the ones who actually will.
Second comment is stray cats. I've got a stray cat running around my yard, and stray cats have rabies. Stray cats have, they dig in our gardens, they dig in our things.
We do have an animal, we do have
have
No,
anybody
we
that
have-
handles cats.
We have dog
Only
control,
dogs.
dog.
Yeah.
only dog control.
And I've heard that there's stray cats all through this town, and then if a stray cat has kittens, then you got more cats than you can deal with. So, I just want to ask the general question, what is the policy on cats? Am I allowed to trap it? Am I allowed to shoot it? What am I allowed to do?
Actually, DEC probably would be the one that could answer that for you. And if there's an issue, they might be able to help you with the trapping and eradication.
I've dealt with these
Right.
a lot. They're gonna pawn it off to somebody else.
Sure.
Yeah, I got that same situation, and we now have the cat.
Really?
But you
Okay.
could trap the cat and sterilize
It's
it
allowed to trap.
and then let it go.
Yeah.
Right.
Tim, did you have something you wanted?
Just to clarify, just for my own information, any ticket Doug writes, those all go to town court.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And then the town court issues either an appearance ticket or,
And then related to KOA, just, I didn't think that Riverside or Fox Farm either one of them ever received like a special use permit or any kind of permit from the planning board because they were going back to essentially the previous footprint and previous plan. So,
Well, that's the case for Fox Farm. But Riverside, they did get a decision,
I'm sorry, I meant Mountainside. I said Riverside.
Mountainside say the same thing.
So neither one of them ever. got a
Correct.
permit from the planning board.
Correct.
So, but both are staying almost identical to, like, the number of sites are both staying identical to
Correct.
what they had.
Yes.
But the amenities aren't there.
did somebody,
And no cabins.
okay,
They did that for us.
Right.
did somebody out on cyberspace there have a question or a comment?
I do. It's Laura Hooker. Well, first a comment about the composting. There are 2 companies, one that has reached out to the town board. It's River Valley Regeneratives, and you can ask Dawn for information on that. They reached out in August 2024 to do something at the landfill. And then also Adirondack Action has Compost for Good. And they are a local initiative that has done things in Keysville and I believe Saranac Lake, and they also were at the community day in Lake Placid. So that would be someone that you could reach out for composting. And then I wanted some information as far as the signage for the Riverside and for the KOA on Fox Farm. I believe we have, are they going to submit their signage to the board?
What do you mean?
You sign permit, what the sign looks like.
No, they can put a sign up as long as it follows the sign regs.
They don't need a special permit if they fall within the regulations of the signage.
The amount of size,
Right.
lettering, et cetera.
We have done sign permits for the Adragna property, Wolf Jaw, the Fly Fishing Place, Twisted Raven, Cadence Lodge, and the original KOA sign.
Those are some of those are very specific situations, like the Cadence Lodge. That was an add-on sign that was needed a variance. That's what that issue was. And as far as other signs that or for businesses, that is because they're part of the special use permit. If there's a variance or something like that that has to occur, then that would have to go back to the planning board or zoning board.
Okay, because our code says that a permit is not required if an existing sign has the same message content, is not altered, but these are new signs. That's what I was under the assumption with all of the other signage.
I don't believe so.
So anybody can just put up a sign.
No, you have to buy a permit.
Well, if you get a special use permit for us to have a sign put up, it's included in your special use permit.
I mean, that's a good question. I drive by a lot of road signs of businesses. They put up signs. I have to buy a permit to put a sign up in front of my house and my shop. A Joe Schmo contractor can throw a road sign on the side of the road.
That's not
So
quite
who
the
has
same
to
thing.
buy, who has to put up, who has to buy a
Doesn't he have to
permit?
get permission
From the homeowner.
from the homeowner?
But does the homeowner have to buy a permit to put that sign up?
Not for a temporary sign, no.
Temporary,
It's a whole freedom of speech thing.
No, there's a temporary
That's not
sign.
a freedom of speech when it's a business's name and their phone number.
Yeah, it's a temporary sign.
You know, I mean, KOA pays taxes in this town. We're beating them up over a sign, but we have contractors jamming those signs in all over the place. I don't understand why.
It's almost like the election sign.
Right.
So that's a temporary thing that's up there for 2 months or 6 months and then it goes away.
But KOA is currently following our code and our zoning.
I don't know if Alton and Spectrum Riverside sign is actually in the plans that you guys approved.
Right.
The sign's in there.
Right.
They're fine. They're following our plan and
And
our
on
coding. We
Fox
shouldn't be
Farm,
questioning.
we're gonna reuse the signs that were there. We're gonna make them accurate, but we're not putting new signs up.
I don't see a problem.
The actual signage will be different because it'll be accurate, but the actual
Structure.
platforms and stuff are all the ones that are there.
The structures are even still there.
Correct.
That's pretty much like the election sign.
Right.
People put
Did you have anything else, Laura?
I guess not.
Anybody else in the audience?
Laura, are you still there?
Yeah,
Could you arm Doug with those composting links?
sure.
So anytime something like this happens, he could educate before he feels like he has to penalize?
I can send him the links, no problem.
Thank you very much.
Riverbend Composting will actually send you training videos. We use their now team and they send training videos.
Right.
Education is always the best route to solving a problem, I feel like.
Okay, nothing else from the audience? Do we have a motion? Comments
Yeah,
are
motion
closed?
to disclose.
I'd like
Jerry?
to make a motion, we adjourn.
Well, Jerry, we have to wait, we have to get your alternate right now.
Oh,
That's
Yeah,
what I
we're
just said,
not
make a
saying-
motion. to
oh,
close.
yeah.
Okay, Tony made a motion,
I'll second it.
seconded by Pat, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You're good, Ken? I got it. Hey, Tina.
Oh, yeah.